Get away from me before I clock you. I'm not playing with you.
Before you clock me, Miss Washington?
Get on my face.
Hot topic in Maryland over the past month. In a heated exchange, Spotlight on Maryland's Gary Collins spoke with one woman who has been posting ads on social media that allegedly connect individuals to what the woman calls online squatter homes.
Lots of insurance.
Spotlight on Maryland has been reviewing social media advertisements, videos, and posts allegedly connecting unauthorized occupants or squatters to properties throughout the region for a one-time fee. What's your experience with squatting?
It's an epidemic. It's insane. It's insane.
It's becoming an epidemic.
It is a crisis. After investigating for more than a month, we tied Baltimore area resident Tamieka Washington to one of the social media accounts using information we obtained from alleged squatters that pointed to her. In one instance, her name was even listed on a leasing document an occupant provided to us. When we reached out in May, Washington said any videos she posted did not depict anything illegal. She added that she categorically denied any unlawful entry or inappropriate access to any property. Meanwhile, on Monday, Washington posted on her social media account asking for an interview.
Gary Collins, how come you don't want to do an interview now, but you only wanted to do an interview when I was portrayed to look like a monster? You don't want to interview me? Let's talk about governance in the city.
Hey, Miss Washington, Gary Collins with Fox 45 News. Our team learned Washington was in court in Frederick County for unrelated traffic violations. We tried to speak to her about her social media accounts. How are you? Quick question: Why are you connecting individuals to squatter houses on your social
following
media?
me to court is crazy.
Miss Washington, you can record us, but I'm very curious why you're following.
Get away from me before I clock you. I'm not playing with you.
Before you clock me, Miss Washington?
Get on my face.
So why are you...
Could you get on my face? Get on my face. Get on my face.
Why are you connecting people?
Get on my face.
Why are you connecting people?
What are you talking about? I don't play like that. Y'all run it down on me and all that. Don't play with me. What you talking about? And you a dummy.
No clear answer what Kiana Washington's role may be in online squatting networks in Maryland. What we do know is officials acknowledge how social media is fueling squatting, including Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott.
This is not a new issue for Baltimore or for the state of Maryland. And what is different, though, is that these folks are doing the advertisement for these things online, which we are looking at if there are ways to hold them responsible legally in that way.
Maryland's squatting issue has also caught the eye of Governor Wes Moore. What's your administration doing to address this, particularly considering other governors are taking immediate action now?
Yeah, well, I think you're seeing how in Maryland we're taking immediate action as well. I mean, we're working with all of our partners to be able to ensure that people can be safe, that people can be secure, and that laws are being followed. And so I don't think that there is not a single person or partner that we're not working with to be able to address the issue.
Meanwhile, homeowners, contractors, developers, and property owners are left picking up the pieces and dealing with the lasting impact of alleged squatting.
Trash, food, all over the house. You can bother putting a trash bin.
We are going to continue to follow social media accounts claiming to connect unauthorized occupants to last resort squatter homes for a fee. We will also continue to press government officials for answers, and we'll also examine how squatting in Maryland is potentially harming people just like you. I'm Gary Collins with Spotlight on Maryland.
So first, I do want to clarify what the term squatter means, because a lot of times we'll hear that there are things like squatters' rights or squatters' laws. Maryland is very clear. When we talk about a squatter, we're talking about somebody who has been on property for 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. So it's not these folks that just walk into an apartment or that walk into a house, get the locks changed, and then all of a sudden they're there for a temporary time. Maryland does have, and it's really adverse possession when we talk about squatters. We're talking about, like, say, for example, Shelley, if you and I live next door to each other and I put a fence up and I happen to encroach on some part of your land, you know that I'm doing it. It's open and notorious. It's adverse to you. And I've been doing it for 20 years and you never say anything about it. You never tell me not to. Then by adverse possession or squatter's law, that may become part of my property after 20 years. That is not what's happening here. So these folks here do not have any kind of squatter rights or, the right to be in these properties. What makes this even more egregious, though, is that you're talking about a network, a social media network that is inviting these people. And from what I understand, these networks are telling people, hey, I'll find you a house that's vacant. So it's not like these people are walking in thinking, oh, I have this legitimate contract and I'm going to make this legitimate deal with somebody to rent this property for 6 months or a year or a month-to-month basis. They know that they're coming in for a very short amount of time and that they're basically just breaking and entering.
It's kind of depressing. The fact that the law is not on the side of homeowners. It's really, that's scary. And again, I have to say that's a Marxist system where they basically trying to use equity. That's in a really tricky way. They're distributing property to those that otherwise would have not had a place to live.
Right.
So it's Nicole, that's a great idea that you mentioned that person had. And that's a good business idea. I mean, wouldn't you, if you don't want to do it yourself, you can advertise that, let's say you'll pay someone to go and squat on a squatter and make them incredibly uncomfortable. And that's genius. And so when the law is not on the side of people, then people have to find their own way. They have to take the law in their own hands. And
that's what they're
people always say that the law is not on our side or that the system is broken and things like that. And I get it. The problem is that we sometimes forget that the law is not meant to pick a side. So they're not meant to be on the homeowner side or not meant to be on the plaintiff side or the defendant side or the prosecution side or the defendant side, right? It's meant to be neutral and say, this is the set of laws. And if you want to accuse somebody of something, you have to prove that they did it, which becomes difficult because there is the law and then there is reality, where in reality, it's like, that's hard to prove. But the whole basis of our legal system is that there is no, there's a presumption of innocence, right? That we're not trying to be on the side of one or the other, because there are other instances in which other forms of law have said, we're going to walk into this and we're going to, with blinders on, that we're on the government side or we're on the homeowner, like the plaintiff side. And then it skews it one way or the other. This one, because it's more neutral, it makes it more difficult sometimes.
I love nosy neighbors. It's the best invention, cost you no money. Make friends with your nosy neighbors, retirees, old people. That is the best alarm system. They tell you everything. They even write down license plate numbers when I'm out of town. So it's a good thing to have nosy neighbors.
Go ahead, Yana. What was your question?
I guess my question is, so Eurypsy, you've mentioned that the law is neutral here, but is it the same state by state? Because I know that like tenant laws are different depending on the state. So some states have more tenant protections and it's more difficult to evict someone in some states. So is it the same situation with squatters? Is it the same across the board, or is it different state by state?
So property law in general is different state by state.
So
but what I mean when I say
it's neutral, then
yes, well, no, but what I mean is the overall focus of the system is to remain neutral. Think about it like an umpire, where it's like, I don't care who's playing, I'm going to call balls and strikes. That's the purpose. So that if I suddenly, had beef with Nicole and I decided to be a real jerk and call the police and say, hey, Nicole's squatting at such and such place, go get her. Now, all of us know that I'm lying, right? That's not true. That judge, that jury doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. They don't know Nicole from a hole in the wall. And so she deserves the opportunity to walk into a courtroom and say, I live here. Here is my deed. Look at my stuff, right? And the court is not set up to say that, oh, well, only when we know the person is guilty, right? When it's egregious, are we going to make the other side prove it? No, because that's not specific like that. So the court is just set up to say, if somebody is trespassing on your property, you have to prove X, Y, and Z that they've done that, regardless of who it is. Because like I would do that to Nicole, but that's not to say that people haven't been wrongly accused in the past.
Yeah. I understand that concept, Eurypsy. I want to go back again because the owners, even though the law is set up to be neutral, the concept of neutrality, if you will, innocent people like homeowners, why can't it be so simple that we can just go to the court of records, the land records, pull the deeds and titles and say, why can't it just be that simple?
Well, it should be. It should be. And so what happens in these, and just to be clear, I don't do landlord tenant law. It is not my favorite thing. I have done some of it, and it is very time consuming. It can be very frustrating. So it's just not one of the things that I like to do. It's been a few months since my last one. But yes, so typically what will happen in a I guess like a squatter's case, right? If suddenly I'm accusing Nicole of squatting at this property, then she would, I'd have to initiate a lawsuit. So first I would call the cops. Oh, the cops show up. And the first thing they're going to say is sue her because like, whose property is this? Right. And very few people know how to pull a deed. So very few people are going to have a deed ready and say, hey, no, this is my house. Like, look, this is my name on the deed. Then they're going to say, okay, well, who's who? Like, I have a deed. I don't know who's, like, give me your ID, who's whatever. And then the cops are also going to make a decision about, the number of times that I have seen there are multiple deeds on a property. Now it's the last deed that controls, but I could very well pull a deed from the previous owner at my house and they could show that, and it doesn't have my name or my husband's name. But the latest deed does, right? And so a cop is not going to go through all that. What the cop is going to say is go to court and figure this out. Now we have to go to court, right? The court requires that I initiate a lawsuit, that I serve Nicole because our law says that she has to have notice that I am taking her to court. She has to have the opportunity to defend herself, get an attorney if she chooses to. So now here we are, probably 6 weeks later. Now we're finally in front of a judge. And there may be, we got to gather more evidence. Maybe Nicole is like, no, this is my property. I live here. And maybe I'm the one that's just causing trouble. Right. So the process takes a little while. And that's where I know it gets very frustrating and, for homeowners. But the reason is because if you accuse somebody, you have to give them an opportunity to defend themselves.
Right. You know what they've been showing? A lot of these places, a lot of the people who are squatting are much like what Gary was reporting on the news. They're using these third-party people and they're paying these people. And sometimes these people generate what we call an internet lease. You can just print a lease off the internet. And these people, in some cases, are like, oh, no, I have a lease, right? When the homeowner says you have to get out, no, I have a lease. Well, you may not have a lease with the homeowner, but how would you know that? As Eurypsia said, most people don't do enough investigation, especially if you're renting a home, to find out who owns the home, if it's owned by the bank, if Eurypsia owns it, if Shelly owns it. All I know is I moved my stuff in and I got a lease. I've paid my rent and I'm not leaving. This is why the cops go, oh, this is not a case for us. But you know who it is a case for? Our legislators. This needs some legislation. This is why it's so important to vote, because this can be handled very easily. The people who are putting those ads up, that should be a crime. It should absolutely be a crime. They're taking advantage of both ends of the equation here. If I, in good faith, signed a lease with someone I believe to own this home and paid my money to this person, I'm not getting out. Are you serious? I've already put all my stuff here. I've paid my bills. It's unfair to me, Judge, to have to be thrown out because this person is a bad actor. Eurypsia, the homeowner, is going, well, wait a minute. It's my house. I have nothing to do with this. Me and Eurypsia are injured. The person who caused the injury is walking away scot-free. So we need to definitely fix that with some legislation.
Exactly.